Right. So we are going to make a pattern and sew it from a photograph of a garment. As you can see here, here's some photos that I took of an actual garment. Now you have to kind of lay out the pieces nicely, nice and flat. Each individual part of the piece. You can see me right here. I'm taking a look through to check out seam allowances and any details that I need to draft in the pattern. I'm looking at the sleeve, seeing how it's done. It's got about 1.25 inches of elastic folded under. It's got about 3/8 of an inch hem on the bottom. This is a crop top I got from Forever 21. Um, I don't wear it because I don't wear crop tops. So no way, not these days. And now I'm just going to lay everything out flat. In a second here, I'm going to lay it on the ground and take the usual photos exactly parallel to the floor. And that's coming up right now, I think. Yep. Okay. So here I am. You can see the yellow marker in the middle of the iPad when you have your grids on for your photographs. That will tell you that your um, iPad is balanced perfectly with the floor. Kind of like a level when you're putting up a photo on the wall. So I'm taking a photo of every part. I flatten it out as nice as I can, match up my grid lines as nice as I can. And I've taken a photo of the front, back, the hood, and the sleeve. Obviously, you don't need to take duplicate photos of a left sleeve and a right sleeve. You just need to take the photo of one sleeve, the front and the back, and we will splice them together. Now you want to set up your canvas. I chose 36 inches wide because I'm using a wide format printer. I can show in another video how you can set up your canvas for printing on a home printer. You'll have to do a lot of taping, it's really annoying. Or you can send it off to FedEx, but it's expensive. Right now I'm naming it Forever 21 something something hoodie. Now you want to go to your canvas. You want to make sure there's divisions, 8 divisions of 0.125 inch. That's 1/8 of an inch. It's pretty much making this grid an inch with 1/8 inch grids within the inch grid. Now I'm just getting all the photos onto my canvas, onto my workspace, and preparing them to be traced. I grabbed my pen. Now we're zooming in. We only need to trace half of the garment. So you figure out where your middle point is and start from there. So you can see, just like when we're digitizing a paper pattern, where I'm going in and just copying it as if it were a paper pattern. Okay, going all the way through. Once you get to the halfway mark, we're going to mirror it the same way we do a paper pattern. So you can see me selecting all. Oh, I'm selecting the 2 middle parts, the 2 middle points, and I'm going to make sure that they are in line with each other vertically. So you go to path, align vertically. Now we want to mirror it. Copy, paste in place, go to geometry, flip horizontally. Then you grab the piece and you want to hold a finger on your workspace area, and that will keep it snapping. It'll help it snap into place. Then we want to go to path, join paths, and close path. Now we're moving on to the hood. We aren't going to resize these until after we have them all traced. After we get them traced, we're going to need to add seam allowance, because when you're copying straight from a garment, the seam allowance is hidden within the garment. It's already sewn. So we'll have to go back in there and add the seam allowances that we need. I'll also show you how I got the measurements from the garments. I've showed it plenty of times in other videos, but I'll just keep showing it again. Okay, we're going through. We're going to fill it and set it aside. All right, let's see what's next here. I believe we're going to trace the front right sleeve. I believe it is. Yeah, it's the front right. Start at the shoulder top point where it meets the shoulder of the body, the front panel of the hoodie. Now you can see I'm not exactly tracing it where the elastic is kind of pulling the wrist in, because that is not how the pattern piece was before the elastic was put in. The elastic is obviously scrunching it. So we have to just kind of use our best guess to where I think it would be on the pattern. And this is pretty much where it would be. This is a standard sleeve before being sewn. When we elasticate the wrist, it will pull in like that. Okay, that is the front right. I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to do, the front right, and then we're going to do the front back, which is the photo on the right there. Same thing. We start at the top shoulder point.
Why is Hank not interfering with this?
And figuring out, trying to locate where I think the width would be. It should be similar to the other side, if not exactly the same. I think here I was trying to figure out how to get the best matchup to the curve that I just came from. All right, it's a little far in, but it worked in the end. I'm actually wearing the hoodie I made from this video right now. So I know it worked. Now we can see that we traced two different size photos, which is fine because we just enlarge it. We want to make sure we lock the aspect ratio of this side piece, of this right piece. So you go into geometry and you hit the infinity symbol for size, where the size is. And I'm trying to match up the points so that I can seal it and then fill it with color. It was a little difficult because the Apple Pencil sometimes, if you're not zoomed in all the way, it's hard. It snaps away from where you want it, almost like it's magnetized. And there is a setting for that. I just don't want to change settings all the time. Okay, you can see how the left side of that bottom sleeve is slanted a little more. And that's fine, it still worked, but normally I wouldn't want that. Just for professionalism's sake. All right, now I'm just trying to make sure that we've got these lined up. Joining the paths. Go to path, join path, and then close path. Join path, close path. There's a slight bump at the top there, at the top of the sleeve cap. I think I end up fixing it. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm gonna go in and fix it just so it's nice and smooth. Okay, now we want to fill it and set it aside. Now, the back piece, I didn't take a photo of the back of the
I think my door is ringing.
hoodie
Oh no.
because the back is the same as the front except for the
How many times
neckline.
did this I get?
So you can see here, other than, let's see what
Even
I'm
though
doing here
the
first.
ad
Oh,
that
I'm adding,
keeps
so
sending.
I'm just adding notches so I can see which is the front and which is the back of the sleeve.
So do I. I could literally start a. YouTube doesn't work out. I could literally start a hardcore
If you want
fight.
to add points to make the
30
notches, you can just
seconds.
go to your pen tool and then
It's
down
like
there on your options,
so
you hit the
tiny.
pen
Because my sleeve is
icon
so
with the plus next to it.
I think
And
I
that
broke my
allows
keyboard.
you to add points to a already existing line.
It's so big stuff. And then sometimes you get a note from the
Okay,
guy
what am I doing
who
here?
like the
Oh,
keyboard
okay.
connector and it's like, oh, it's a
So
keyboard.
now I'm explaining how I
And I'm
physically
surprised
took measurements of the garment.
I'm glad I took time out of my day to collect this hat. Which is wonderful.
So it's good to have a little notepad.
My
For
card.
example, this is 15.5. This doesn't include seam allowance. We're gonna add the seam allowance when this is all done. Now we want to do it
Why did you just
across,
show
I
me that?
believe, and I believe it was 10.25. Okay, so the diagonal was 16.25.
Yeah,
It's a
you know
measurement
what?
I took down, but I ultimately didn't end up using it, and the hood turned out fine. I just pretty much pulled two main
This is how I feel about
measurements
9-year-olds.
from the hood. Across there, that was from the back of the neck, and this is from the bottom of the hood in the front. And I believe there was a 2.5 or 3 inch difference, meaning the back of
uh,
the hood seam
no.
was
I
two and a
disagree.
half to 3 inches higher than where it meets in the front. And that would make sense because obviously your back neckline scoops a lot less dramatically than your front neckline.
What about this song? You remember? Alright.
Okay, yeah, it was 2.5. So we're going to delete all that.
Okay, women love this. You ask about them immediately. Bing! I have these phones.
Something paused. Oh,
Don't
okay,
overgeneralize
and that's
things. Sorry.
10.25 across
Oh.
and 15.5 down. So I know that its bounding box will be
The truck
10.25
finished.
across, 15.5 down when I go to resize this. So I should probably delete the photo, get it off the board. Okay, I'm resizing the hoodie first, doing the 15.5 by the 10.25. And this is the hood pattern without seam allowance. Just making sure the shape is matching, and it was. And we're going to delete the pattern and whatever that is.
Oh my god. You're a murderer.
Now we I didn't want the crop,
Yeah,
so
you
I'm
already
going to
said.
end up, after I do the back, extending this to about 24 inches. And that is for on my body, it's pretty much from my decolleté or decollete, I don't know how you pronounce it, down to my crotch. Now, these are all the
Excuse me.
measurements that I took on the
Digitize,
actual
thank you.
garment.
That was
The
nice.
shoulder slant from neckline to shoulder tip was 7.5.
Lover.
The center front was 15. I have my notes right here. That was 7.5 inches. So from the high shoulder point to the neckline was 3 inches.
Just gotta hit him with
And
compassion,
from the
empathy, and
from the
truth.
low
Bang, you
shoulder
got
point
yourself in the money.
matching up to your high shoulder point
Like, how did that
is
happen?
two and a
0
half
to
inches.
100.
Side seam was 6.75 inches.
They so over.
And
I
the
know I,
halfway
for
across the
example,
bottom garment,
want
the hem,
a plane
was
with speed. That's the
10.75
main
inches.
method.
So I'm going to use these
Every
measurements
stereotype ever, it has.
to
Wait, he's
size my
back!
piece up
He's back!
accurately.
Hooray! Yes!
Now,
I didn't
from
realize
the
he's back.
low shoulder point to the center front neckline, that's about
That's
11 and a half inches across. And I believe it's the widest part of the
for 1901
half
Odyssey.
pattern piece. So that would mean it's about 22 to 23 inches across, opened up. And it's 17.75 from high shoulder point where you see the line that I drew to the hem. So now I know what the bounding box is going to be. The bounding box is going to be 17.75 inches
What's that
high
Fortnite skin?
by 22 and a half to 23 inches wide. I believe I used the 22 and a half. We'll see in
I
a
mean, yeah, you
second.
can just have to punch people, right? I mean, you're free. Hey! You're free. You got more androids.
Oh, I must have got up to measure.
Listening. Yours is free.
This should have been edited out, but
You stared at
it
my
wasn't, so
android.
here it is.
We're doing some shopping. She's picking up pain as well.
Okay, I did get it. So it's 11 and a half.
We're gonna have a pizza party. It's gonna be epic.
And now we're going to
Go off
size
the
it.
road. Hey, it's that guy. Wait.
I'm not sure why I'm lagging. Hurry
I don't think
up.
so. I don't think so, Big Chunk.
Okay, we
Well,
are
he was
finally
excited.
resizing
He's
it. So we
literally
want it to
convinced
be